Hey everybody, it's Cayley. Welcome back to my channel. Today I thought it would be interesting and hopefully helpful to share some of my sourcing strategies and a little bit about how much I spend about every time that I go sourcing. So obviously sourcing's been a little bit different with the pandemic going on, but I feel like since thrift stores are starting to open up, I'm able to get into more of a routine. And right now I am working pretty full-time, consistent hours on my reselling business. So I would, at this point in time, consider myself to be working about 30 to 40 hours a week on reselling. For me, sourcing is a bit of a challenge because most of the thrift stores that have what I would consider sourceable items of value, not just crap, are about an hour away from me. I used to live a lot closer to the thrift stores that I still go to today, but we moved away to be closer to family, and so I really have to adjust and basically plan out my week a little bit differently than I used to. So currently, because of how far I have to drive, I plan on sourcing one day a week. And because I only go sourcing one day a week, I really have to make the most out of my time in order to get the most items available and be as efficient as possible to go to the places that I know I'm going to get good items, to the areas of those stores that I know I'm going to get good items, and then be really careful about sourcing. So everyone's strategy is going to be different, and your sourcing strategies might look a little bit different based on your model, how close you are to thrift stores, and what kinds of items you have available to you in your area. So if you're like me and you have to drive far, again, I try to plan one day a week to go outsourcing, sometimes two if a place is having a really good sale, or if I didn't get enough items on my normal sourcing day. I would say before the pandemic, I most definitely sourced on Wednesdays because that is when one of my thrift stores has their biggest sales. Now I'll pretty much source any day of the week, but I find that sourcing on a day like Monday or Tuesday is usually my best bet. Most of the time donations come through the weekend as people are cleaning out their stuff, especially as we're in spring and people are clearing out their closets. So they'll bring donations in when they have time over the weekend and they are off of work. And then those donations get processed, which means they are usually on the sales floor or being put out on Monday or Tuesday. So again, this might be different in your area, but for me, I have found that those are the most successful days for me to go sourcing as far as getting great items. Now, as far as sales days go, it varies based on thrift store, but Wednesdays, like I said, tend to be a good day for me. But because I am more focused on getting high quality items versus quantity right now, because I am listing everything myself at the moment, I'm gonna go on Mondays or Tuesdays. So on average, I usually have to drive an hour to the first thrift store, and I usually hit about the same 4 thrift stores every time I go on a trip. So it takes me an hour to get to the first thrift store, and then of course it would take me about an hour to get back from that area. So that is 2 hours just in commute there and back. And then there's also driving in between, which I'm going to account for about an hour worth of my time, about 25 minutes between each thrift store, and then also counting any stops that I might make for food or gas, things like that. So I'm going to count about 1 hour. So in total, that's 3 hours of just driving around, not even being at the thrift store. I usually try to do 8 hours or less in a total day sourcing trip because it gets really exhausting. You're constantly moving through clothing racks, you're constantly having to lift items, pick them up, put them down, and just mental exhaustion can be a real thing when you're going and doing the same motion over and over again. So I like to limit my sourcing trips to 8 hours or less total, including all driving. So as I said before, it's about 3 hours just driving, not even including thrift store time, which would leave me with about 5 hours total to thrift, which means I'm usually spending about 1 hour and 15 minutes at each of the 4 thrift stores that I go to. While I'm there, because I have such limited time, I usually try and only go to the sections of the store that I know are going to make me the most money or that I am most comfortable with. And then if I have any time left, I will then go to those categories that I am not so familiar with, and maybe that might have items that are there because I haven't picked through it in a while. For me, those sections are usually going to be jackets, jeans, and shoes. Then if I have any time left, I usually go to the dresses and tops, and occasionally I will go through the men's t-shirt section to see if there's anything unique, rare, vintage over there. I used to spend like 4 hours at one thrift store going through every single item and every single area of the store and basically looking at all the things and moving every single item in the rack to see every tag. As a beginner, that was really helpful for me to learn different brands, but now it's definitely a better use of my time to look through only the sections that I think do best for me and then look for specific items in those areas without having to go through every single item on the rack. So that is a brief overview of kind of what a sourcing day looks like for me, broken down by hours. And now I will share with you my last sourcing trip and a breakdown of how much I spent at each place and how many items I got at each place. So the first place I went to was a Salvation Army. And the day that I went, they actually had all colors were 50% off. So all the clothing and shoe items in the store were 50% off. I spent $40.96 at this store and I got 13 items, which made the average cost per item $3.15. So usually at this store, this is the one that I used to go to every Wednesday. They have really good deals in that store, and maybe $3 seems a little bit expensive to you if you shop at the bins all the time. But for me, I prefer to shop at regular brick and mortar thrift stores, retail thrift stores, because I just find the quality of items is better and I have to spend less time to find them. I did the bins game for a while and it's a lot of work, but the return on investment is great. So occasionally I will go to the bins, but usually this is more like my normal sourcing trip, going to regular thrift stores. So $3.15 average price is really, really good for me. It might be different for your business, but I would consider that to be a great cost per item. And then on average, I like to stay between $30 and $40 average sale price per item. That's been up and down with COVID, but right before that, for months, that's what I was at, between $30 and $40. So that was at Salvation Army. The next place I went to was an Ohio thrift store. I spent $82.06 there and I got 13 items, which was the same amount of items I got at the first place, except this time I paid more for each item for an average sale price of $6.31. So I'm willing to pay up for items if, you know, obviously the sale price is there and it has a good sell-through rate. So usually at this thrift store, I'm finding more higher end or rare items, which I'm usually willing to pay up for, and their prices can be crazy ridiculous if you don't go on a sales day. In this case, I did go on a day that was not a sale day, but I'm usually finding really good items, so I was happy with that. Moving on, next I went to a Goodwill store. I spent $62.09 for 14 items, which made my average cost per item $4.44. This was also not on any major sale day. They usually only have one, at least at my Goodwills, they usually only have one color that's 50% off, and I don't usually find that they do like the 99-cent tag day or 50% off the entire store that I hear other resellers talking about. Mine usually just is consistent the whole time, full price, other than one color tag. So I got some great items there. I love going to that Goodwill. I usually find some really high quality items there. Next, I went to Volunteers of America, and this is the last thrift store that I went to, and I only spent $33 there. I got 8 items, which made my average cost of goods $4.54. So I love this store because usually I'm finding bread and butter items there, and I'll usually pay $5 or under, usually a little less there, depending on what they have. So in total, last week on my one sourcing day that I went, I got a total of 48 items, and I spent $218.11, which made the average cost of goods $4.54, which again is good for me, is under $5. And then I added all the comps up that I did and when I worked on getting these items listed, and I'm projecting to make a minimum of $1,255. So again, I spent $218.11, and I plan to turn that into at least $1,255. And that was being very, very cautious of what I was thinking what these items were gonna sell for. I went on the lower end. I'm thinking I'll probably make about $1,500 on it, but that was being really conservative with that $1,200. So I hope this was helpful to you guys. I just wanted to share a little bit about my sourcing trips each week. I know we're all in different situations, and for some of you, you might be a part-time hobbyist reseller thinking about what it would be like to be a full-time reseller and what sourcing looks like. Maybe some of you are wondering how to plan your day when you have to source pretty far away from you, and that is how I do it. Again, I hope this information was helpful. Drop a comment down below. Let me know some of your sourcing strategies. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.